Hey creeps, it's Cameron again, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about books, movies, writing, and all things spooky. On this episode of Library Macabre, I have a retro book review of The Nest by Gregory A. Douglas. The Nest, written by Gregory A. Douglas, aka Eli Cantor, was originally published by Zebra Books in 1980. Since then, the novel has been out of print, available only to those persistent enough to find a used copy in used bookstores. Fortunately, that is no longer the issue thanks to Valancourt Books and their brand new Paperbacks from Hell series. With the help of horror author Grady Hendrix and vintage horror expert Will Erickson, Valancourt Books is reprinting these mass market horrors for a modern day audience. There is really no better starting place for the Paperbacks from Hell line than The Nest by Gregory A. Douglas. The story is simple enough. Mutated roaches take over a Cape Cod town and slowly begin eating everyone. Sure, we have a large cast of small town characters, but the focus primarily is on the vicious attacks of these man-eating roaches. And when I say vicious attacks, I mean vicious attacks. These roaches are unstoppable. They eat literally everything, even the bones. So as you can imagine, this book is incredibly gruesome. There are kill scenes that go on for pages and pages, describing in detail the extent to which these roaches feast on human flesh. Combining these gore-filled scenes with Douglas's rather flowery purple prose, you get a very strange concoction of dark humor and complete and utter hopelessness. Typically, I find flowery language to be extremely off-putting. It's like an attempt at poetry that just comes across as pretension. The Nest definitely has that vibe, but something about reading these over-the-top, gory, gruesome deaths written in such an artsy way just had me rolling on the floor laughing. It often feels like the author is doing a parody of highbrow literature, so I get the impression that Douglas kind of knew what he was doing here. Even though I found this aspect of The Nest to be very humorous, there are times when Douglas's writing serves a completely different purpose. And this is where that complete and utter hopelessness comes into play. So I want you to imagine being in a situation where there are thousands of man-eating, hungry roaches pouring towards you. And you're stomping on them, you're trying to fend them off, and you can't. They just keep coming. So you lock yourself in a room, and these roaches begin to seep under the door, or they start chewing through the wood, and they keep coming no matter what. And then these flying roaches begin to land on you, and they start biting into you. One lands on your cheek, you smash it, its blood gets in your eyes, and you're temporarily blinded so you can't see what you're doing, but you can feel all of these roaches just burrowing into your skin. Even if you're able to get these bugs off of your body, you know it's too late because they're already inside you. It's pretty hopeless, right? I mean, once the characters in this book are in the presence of these roaches, all they can really do is just wait to be eaten alive because they know it's going to happen. There's no escape. The roaches are as relentless as Douglas's writing. Unfortunately, though, The Nest is filled with gore and horror and humor and completely shocking moments, there are a lot of scenes that involve our characters just sitting around and discussing the science of roaches. These scenes were really long and drawn out and really quite boring. So I have to deduct a 1.5 stars from an otherwise bonkers 5-star book. On the bright side, I now know more about roaches than I ever thought possible. Whether or not that info is accurate, it's a completely different story. Overall though, The Nest by Gregory A. Douglas is a wildly entertaining book, made even more enjoyable by Will Erickson's very well written introduction to the book. If you like small town horror, and especially if you like animal attack books, then this is absolutely a must read. But anyway, the first 3 books in Valancourt's Paperbacks from Hell line are available now. I'm going to leave a link down below in the graveyard where you can go and order the books, or you can subscribe to get the whole series for a much discounted price. If you subscribe now, you're going to get the first 3 books sent to you, and then the other 2 books will be sent to you whenever they are released. So it's a good deal. I highly recommend it. These books are a godsend to vintage horror fans. So definitely check it out. But that is my review of The Nest by Gregory A. Douglas. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Later, creeps.